On the speech and script. So, we're here to celebrate something that's 10 years old, but not all of you will even know what it is. So just a tiny bit about what OpenLearn is first. And first and foremost, it's fundamentally about providing a free education and learning service. In fact, it provides over 15,000 hours, counting, growing all the time, of educational content, quality assured and provided by our academics, many of whom are here today at the Open University. Amongst that, there's over 1,000 courses available sitting on OpenLearn today. Some are only a couple of hours long, some are over 100 hours long, some at pre-undergraduate, some at master's level. It is full of courses and learning materials. But not everybody wants to start with a course. It's a bit of a commitment to step forward and sit and commit to 100 hours worth of learning. So actually the site is full of a whole series of other engagement materials, materials that are designed just to entice people to make that first step into a learning journey. As you can see, well over 1,200 videos, nearly 5,000 articles, and nearly 400 interactive games and simulations. And the aim here is to take this notion of access really to heart and make sure that absolutely there is material there that people can begin with just a 2-minute experience all the way through to a 100-hour experience. And also, the subject matter is pretty wide-ranging. Surprisingly enough, for an open university or a then university, we have materials on David Bowie and a week's worth of materials about remembering him and his death and what it meant in terms of the higher educational subject matters that sit behind him. Yes, gender identity, the poetry, the politics of poetry, new musical theory, whole series of courses that we could bring to life after his death and make relevant. So we went from Bowie to bookkeeping in the same week. One of our most popular courses is an introduction to bookkeeping and accounting. I think about 100,000 people have done that in the last couple of years. So Bowie to bookkeeping, all in 1 week. So yeah, the subject matter is pretty wide-ranging. But in the end, important though it is, the 10th birthday of a piece of software is kind of like sort of interesting. Actually, what's really interesting, I think, is the level of impact this piece of software has had on the content inside it. It's touched over 45 million lives since it was born, and we feel that the reason it's been successful is because it has access as a strategy at its heart. It's not just great content, it's access. And critically important, it's also about partnerships. We're going to speak a lot about what we've done here today, people here in this room have done today, but it is also about the partnerships that we've got. And of course, one of those critical partnerships is this one.
It is amazing. The BBC and the OU, inspiring learning.
We make about 30 series with the BBC each year, and every programme ends with an invitation to follow up your learning by coming to visit OpenLearn.
What happens next depends on us. With apps and digital extras online, the BBC and the Open University bringing learning to life.
So BBC are really critically important partnership we've had actually for much longer than the OpenLearn system has lived, but actually comes to life, I think, in a new way because of OpenLearn. But another critically important relationship we have, I don't think everybody understood this, we have a big relationship with Google. Google provide us with $500,000 worth of Google advertising every year, and that brings in hundreds of thousands of people, make sure that we sit really well up there in the Google rankings, and that we're at the heart of discovery on that search engine. So again, big thanks to Google in terms of supporting us in making education and free education so accessible. But we're aware that although we've built a site, that people want to learn on their own terms. We're not so egocentric that you've got to come to the Open, of all places, the distance education Open University. You do not have to come to Milton Keynes to study with us. You can study with us anywhere. Equally, you can study any OpenLearn content almost anywhere, not just on the site, because we're aware that people want to learn where they are. So what we do is we distribute the content from OpenLearn onto a whole series of other channels, popular channels. So our videos can be found from OpenLearn, can also be found on YouTube, where we're almost certainly the most popular university in the whole of Europe with regards to video viewing. Well over 1 million views of some of our videos. Our audio's put out on Audio Boom, and all of our 1,000 courses are engineered as ebooks and are distributed on Google Play and as Kindle books as well. So you can download them, you don't have to be online. You want to learn in the bath, you want to learn on the train, on your tablet, on your phone, that's fine by us, you can download. Please unplug your power supply before you get in the bath there. Because access also means convenience. We want to be as convenient as possible. If people want to download this stuff and use it and take it away and copy it and rework it, that's what we love. We want people to do that. But also, by distributing that content onto these other channels, we meet another 5 million people every year across these channels. So this adds significantly to the number of people that we reach and where we reach them. But openness for access and convenience is also about learning with relevance. So, the team back at Milton Keynes make sure that we try to bring really important topics alive on an almost daily basis. What we've done is we've connected people, for instance, after the acts of horrendous terror in Europe, to study opportunities that try to explain some of this. We've got courses on Islamophobia, we've got courses on the sociology of terrorism, and people can find out about that as a background to these events on the site. On a slightly lighter note, we celebrated Star Wars Day. Simon, a bit of a Star Wars nut, he happens to edit many of the opening articles on the front page, but I think there was a pretty broad interest in Star Wars Day, and we did not just make a bit of a joke about that, but we also looked at Jediism. Jediism, Simon? Is that okay? Okay, Jediism as a religion, because we have courses on what defines a religion. So we're trying to draw people into the notion of studying religion through Jediism. We have, of course, celebrated Shakespeare's birthday, and actually this is one of the videos, one video alone, which actually tries to show how Shakespeare would have spoken his own lines in his own play in terms of his accent, has been watched by 3.5 million people since it was launched. And Simon, where are you, Simon? As we're involved in pretty much every significant space mission of the last 2 or 3 years, the OU seems to have had something on most planets and or asteroids in the last few years. We make sure that we cover everything that there is to do with space science as a backup to this. And I didn't know it, and rather shockingly and perhaps rather depressingly, we did cover the Italian earthquake. I don't know if we covered it again this morning, Simon, and I'm pretty certain that zombies will be on the front page by this evening. And actually, that's not just to kind of go after a popular culture. I mean, actually, there is a real social psychology that sits behind our fear of zombieism, I believe, not just a bit of fun, and it's an introduction to social psychology and the nature of phobia and fear. Of course, topicality and relevance is one thing, but it's also about practical outcomes. This can be a lot of fun to make, and it can be a lot of fun to use and learn with, but critically we know that people have sometimes pretty fundamental utilitarian concerns about their learning. So in the newly launched OpenLearn, coming soon, watch this space, we're going to have 2 big new areas: skills for study and skills for work. Okay, let's have a very quick look at skills for study. Skills for study, with the really generous, kind support of Dangor Education, we've been able to add very significantly to our content, preparing people to study online and build their skills to give them confidence to make that next step into learning. We know at the OU there are lots of things that hold people back: money and time and juggling life in general. But confidence in study is probably the 3rd biggest issue for most people wanting to make their next step in learning. And we think with the support of people like organisations like Dangor Education, we're really adding to building core and basic skills to build learner confidence. And we know it's really working. Look, we do know we are one of, if not the lowest cost universities and the most accessible universities anywhere in Europe. But even so, some people still cannot afford that or won't take the financial risk. And so OpenLearn can at least give them the first step into this. We know that of the people that use OpenLearn, 60% report an increase in learner confidence, significantly an increase in confidence. And if they turn into a graduate, and around 1,000 of them every year do, if they turn into a graduate with us, they are much more likely to succeed if they've used OpenLearn first than if they didn't. So this is very significant in terms of preparing people to be successful at studying. Okay, the other critical area is skills for work. In terms of skills for work, we know that lots of our graduates are struggling with work-life balance. They are working full-time and studying part-time, and those two numbers often do not add up properly. It is very, very difficult for them, and they want an employability outcome. So both for our own students and for the broader workforce, we want to make sure that we're building resources on OpenLearn that can support the workforce and support apprenticeships in the future in terms of learning. And an example of this is the work that we've done recently with Cisco, which is really, truly amazing. It's actually their course. We've worked with them to adjust it slightly and place it on OpenLearn. But here's a short extract from a new course from Cisco and the Open University, the Internet of Everything, including a reference to a tree that seems to have a bigger social network than I do. That's just one example, and Nuno, I think, will be joining the panel later. Thanks to you, Nuno, for helping us get that launched in the UK on the system. That's just one example of hundreds of items we've got that support employability learning on OpenLearn. We know that learners particularly value these courses, and what they often want is the ability to show their employer or their potential employer what they've learned. And so now, although they've done these courses, they want to be able to say to their employer, here's proof I've done this course, and this is what this course was about. So what we've done with OpenLearn over the last few years, and will be a significant feature of the new site, is allow users to have their own free public profile. This is the place where, for instance, they can record all of their achievements, might be a digital badge that they've earned in preparing for study, or it might be a statement of participation in a course to increase their employability. So these will all be a critical part of this profile system of OpenLearn. It already exists, but it will be a turbo-boosted version in the next few months that's coming out, because we think this area, these kinds of passports of bite-sized learning components that people will be picking up through their lifetimes, not as a one-off before you're 18, not as a one-off at university when you're 21, but increasingly learning will take place over a whole lifetime as your career changes maybe 4 or 5 or 6 times. You will want somewhere to store your learning. And we think this might be one of those places where people will begin to have this kind of digital learning passport. But again, we'll be working in partnership with a wide range of other people to make sure these passports can cross borders, perhaps in ways that others can't cross borders. So that's a big part of the future, we think, is the profile. Okay, now we know that we've done a vast amount with OpenLearn on its own. But as Hazel briefly mentioned, another, I think, in a sense, quiet story, but as I think we'll discover in the second half of this talk, a much more, in some senses, a much more significant story is the story of another way of becoming open and accessible at the Open University. And this is through something called Open Create, again being relaunched in the next few months. Now, OpenLearn Create is kind of, and for those that don't know at the OU, this is the thing that used to be called lab space, not the most appealing idea. OpenLearn Create is a place where we expect others to do what we've done. It's a clone of OpenLearn, so it's got pretty much everything that OpenLearn's got in terms of systems and functionality, but it's got no content in it. What we're saying is, we're effectively reinventing YouTube, but for learning. We're saying, if you want to produce a free course, and if you want to distribute that course and manage that course, and the badges, and the certificates, and the books, you can do it here. And this is where people are starting to build courses. We've got people in our own team that are building sites on this area. OpenLearn Wales, I think, is built there. but very significantly a wide range of employers, voluntary sectors, unions, voluntary organisations are building courses here. And just as an example, Parkinson's UK have been working with us this year to build a new course with a badge, with a free downloadable e-learning book. That is a course supporting people who are dealing with Parkinson's and trying to provide them with the best free training possible. Okay, so Open Learn, I've now finished, you'll be pleased to hear it's Matt next. I'll be back at the end very briefly. But Matt next, but just before Matt comes, Open Learn Creates is I think a very quiet but increasingly important story about the Open University encouraging other people to be open with their content and supporting them in that process, and that's what we're doing here. And that's very significantly taking off in the UK, as I say, with unions and other organisations that we're working with. But I think more importantly, it's really taking off internationally. But it's got a long way to go yet, not least the difficult teenage years. But anyway, the next 10 years, in the next 10 years, leading up to that 2030 debate, target that's been set for us, we are committed, we want to reach another new 100 million learners in the UK and outside of the UK. I hope from what you've seen this morning, we've convinced you that we've got the expertise and the capacity to do this in terms of knowledge and understanding about what it is we're trying to do. But I also hope you can see from this morning, there is no way we can do this without partnership. Everything we've done has been achieved through partnership, and I say that genuinely. It's not just a nice thing you say. It is clear we could not have done this without the partnerships that we have, and the partnerships we're going to need in the future. So we're hoping, over lunch, we start that conversation about partnerships for the future. Please do not feel shy of coming to us and saying, there are other people you need to talk to. Why don't you try these people? Please do not be shy about offering us advice about other things that we ought to think about doing and other ways of behaving. We absolutely are committed to making and believe we can reach those 100 million people before 2030, but we will not transform those lives without partnerships with people like you in the room. So thank you very much for your attention.